Hello everyone, I'm Yvonne, a children's librarian here at the Manchester City Library, and welcome to our winter elementary experiments. These are activities and crafts made for grades 1 through 6 that have a science, technology, engineering, art, or math component. We are continuing to have our in-person elementary experiments on the second Wednesday and the fourth Tuesday of each month at 3:30 p.m. in the Winchell Room at the Manchester City Library. We are posting these videos for anyone who is not able to attend, and they will be posted at the same time as our events. But if you are in grades 1 through 6 and you would like to attend and do our experiments in person, please register for our next elementary experiments on our website. In-person attendance will also guarantee that you will get a kit to help you complete our craft portion of our elementary experiments. Although any extra kits that we have will be available at the Children's Reference Desk while supplies last. So if you weren't able to go in person, but you can get to the library after this video goes up, just go ahead and ask to see if we have any extras. So with all of that out of the way, let's get into this week's elementary experiments. Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's elementary experiments, where we are celebrating getting halfway through the dark. So we're a little bit late for this. The winter solstice, which is the longest night and the shortest day, actually happened on December 21st. But we are still going to celebrate getting through that time. So from now on, it is actually going to be lighter longer during the day until we get to the summer solstice. So I thought we would celebrate that and also a little bit the new calendar year with our activity and our craft. So first, we're going to gather all we need to make some celebration slime. It's been a little while since we made some traditional slime in elementary experiments, and this is one of my favorite recipes. So for our celebration slime, we're going to need some clear school glue. We're going to need some borax, 2 bowls. I've got my measuring cup and spoon, and then some bags of confetti or glitter or whatever you want to add to it for your celebration slime. So one of my favorite things about this slime is we are using clear glue. So that means that our base slime is actually going to be like basically 100% glass window pane clear slime, which I think is really cool. It also means that whatever you choose to add to it, you're going to be able to see it perfectly, and you can change that up. So whatever you add in, you can change depending on what celebration you're celebrating. So because I'm celebrating the new calendar year, as it just became 2024, I'm going to be using this multicolored sequins to sort of show like fireworks and other kind of celebratory New Year things. Okay, so to start off, I have got half a cup of water in this bowl, and then I am going to get some warm water and put it into this bowl, again half a cup. So I do want to say, make sure that whatever you use to heat up your water, you're doing so safely. You might want to ask an adult. And if you're using something like a microwave or a stove, make sure that what you're heating, using to heat up is safe. Like this is plastic, so I might not even put it in the microwave. If you are not sure about being able to heat up water, this doesn't have to be too hot. We just have to dissolve our borax. So if you just turn on your tap water so that it is warm, that may also work fine. So just to give you guys options. So for this, we have our 1/2 cup of warm water. We really only need 1/4 teaspoon of borax, which is not very much. Like this. And then we are going to stir this until it is completely dissolved. And in this bowl with our plain 1/2 cup of water, I'm going to go ahead and add a 1/2 cup of our clear glue. I'm using a 1/4 cup, so I need 2 quarters. Now we are going to stir together our glue and our water until it kind of all becomes one liquid. It's a little bit hard to tell because they're both clear in this one, but when you like run your spoon through it, you should be able to kind of tell when they are mixed together. This is also when I would suggest if you want to add any food coloring, or especially like small things to mix in. With my sequins, it doesn't matter as much because they are big. But if you want something to be like distributed evenly all through your slime, so you want it to be everywhere in the slime, I would mix it in this step. So next we are going to put in our dissolved borax. And if you guys have ever made slime with us at Elementary Experiments before, you will know that it is the borax, or more specifically the borate ion, which is going to turn our glue into actual slime. So when the borax and the water mixture mixes with the PVC of the glue, which is what the glue is made of, they actually link together to form very long molecule chains called polymers. And because these chains are so long, they'll be able to stretch, and that makes our slime slimy, right? So we're going to add this in. You can see it basically immediately starts to get to be slime. Now, one thing with slime is that you don't actually have to use up all of your borate ion liquid, right? So the more borate that is in your slime, the thicker the slime is going to be. The more like putty or like rubber, and the less like liquidy. And that can be good. But if you get to a point where you're like, oh, this is as stiff as I want my slime to be, you can just leave the rest of the liquid in the bowl if you have any left over. And this type of slime you also want to knead a little bit. So that's what I'm going to do. Here is my slime. I think I'm pretty happy with it. One of the things I like about this type of slime is that it really does stretch if you hold it. It'll just slowly extend, and especially when you have you make this clear slime, you can actually see through it just like a window. If you want to keep your slime, definitely put it in a sealed container, or better yet, a Ziploc bag with as much air squeezed out of it as possible. It will keep, I think I've kept this recipe at least a month before. It's pretty good, but again, it won't last forever, so enjoy playing with it while you can. All right, I'm going to clean up what I've got here so that I can show you our craft. For our craft, we are going to make some borax crystal fireworks. Again, keeping into the celebration theme. A lot of celebrations involve fireworks. To make our borax crystal fireworks, what we're going to need is we're going to need something to stir with. Then we are also going to need, well, you don't need, but you may want a way to cut some pipe cleaners. So I have some pliers with a wire cutter. These are probably the best thing to use. So you might want to ask a grown-up if they have some that you can borrow or they can help you with. You can also cut pipe cleaners with scissors, but because pipe cleaners have metal in the middle, it will dull your scissors. So definitely do not use your best scissors to cut pipe cleaners with. Speaking of, we are going to have some pipe cleaners. There is about 3 pipe cleaners. So if you're going to do this at home without our wonderful kit, you would want about 3 pipe cleaners. You can do more or less, especially depending on what you want to make, but I have like 2 whole ones and then some pieces of another one. Our kit can be picked up from the children's desk at the Manchester City Library if you want to have all these items. We have a cup here. We have our borax powder, and we have our instructions that we're going to follow along with. All right, so if you're doing this at home without our kit, definitely make sure that you ask before you choose a glass to do this in. Borax is a laundry soap, and you definitely don't want to eat it or drink it. So if you use a glass that is like your own glass that you drink out of normally, you're going to want to make sure to wash it really well before you use it for drinking. Remember, in elementary experiments and experiments in general, we want to be safe first of all, and then have fun, and then learn something. And being safe means you do not eat, drink, or otherwise ingest any experiments unless you're specifically making them to eat. On this one time, we're not. So we got most of our ingredients here. The other thing we're going to need is warm water again. So if you made our celebration slime, you can use however you warmed up water that way for this. Although I might suggest warming up the water a little bit more than tap water normally gets. For the slime, it'll probably work. For this one, you probably do want actually warm water. It doesn't have to be boiling, but we want it to be hotter than just what would come out of the tap, unless your tap is really quite warm. Because what we are going to do to make our crystals is we are going to super saturate our water with our borax, right? And you can do this with several different things that are soluble in water or that can be dissolved in water. We're going to use our borax crystals. You can also use things like salt and sugar as well. In fact, it might be a fun experiment to see what you can form crystals out of. But for this, we're going to use our borax because I know that it does work pretty well. The crystal size that you get at the end can vary. Sometimes they're really small, sometimes they're bigger, but I have always gotten crystals when I use borax. So a solution is when you have a liquid mixture where the minor component or the solute is distributed evenly through the major component, which is going to be our warm water. So that basically means that if you took a spoonful of our solution, it would look the same as any other spoonful of the solution that you take, right? So you can see this in salt water, right? We talked about how you could theoretically do this experiment with salt water as well. So if you took a cupful of just seawater, unless you had like a fish or like tiny bits of dirt or something in it, anytime you took a spoonful out of that, you couldn't tell if there was more or less salt in it, right? Because it is distributed evenly. We are going to take our solution and put it a step up to make it a super saturated solution. So basically what that means is we are going to use our warm water. Remember, I said it was important that it was warm, to dissolve more of our crystals than we could dissolve in like room temperature water. It might be a fun test to see how many like teaspoons that can be dissolved into the same amount of room temperature water as opposed to a warmer water. But a little bit spoilers for that is that you can dissolve more into warm water than room. So before I start dissolving this, I'm going to go ahead and create my my fireworks that will become covered in crystal. Because basically what is going to happen is because basically what is going to happen is we are going to create our super saturated solution. So because the water is warm, it's going to allow more of the borax to dissolve than it would normally because the molecules are moving quicker and therefore will be hitting the other molecules more often and will be able to dissolve more in the water. But as the water cools down, it's not going to be able to hold as much of the borax as it could when it was warm, right? Because it is super saturated. So all of the borax particles are just going to be sitting there waiting to coalesce or precipitate. That might sound familiar because some of you might know that rain is precipitation. And so what we're doing is actually a lot like clouds in the sky, right? Because the clouds are super saturated. The air has more water than it can hold, just like our water has more borax crystals than it can hold. And so if we put something into the water, like say a sculpture made out of pipe cleaners or chenille stems, then that will cause our crystals to start to precipitate. If you guys have learned about the water cycle, you might know that oftentimes raindrops are formed around small specks of dust or dirt, and our crystals are actually going to be formed kind of the same way. So they will form if there is like chips in the cup, or if we have our very, very fuzzy chenille stems, every little part of that fuzz is going to disrupt the borax crystals that are like hovering in the mixture, and they're going to sort of like stick on to those and hopefully form a very cool crystal structure all over our sculpture. I'm just making cool little fireworks bursts. You can actually make whatever you want. If you really don't feel like a fireworks is a great like a celebratory statue for you, you can come up with your own. It's totally fine. All right, so before you put your liquid in, mine's still empty, you might want to double check to make sure that your sculpture, whatever you ended up doing, will fit into the cup and will be able to be covered by the liquid. Because only things that are underneath the water will grow crystals. If you have something sticking out of the top, then it's not going to grow crystals because there is no part of our solution can touch it. So the crystals cannot become like they cannot drop out of the solution and form on it. I have this here, right? This is about what I want to do. So it's going to hopefully at the end look like a burst of different colored fireworks. And I'm leaving this part out on purpose so that it can be like a little hook at the end, and we'll see if they stick together or not. So I'm like, okay, I'm pretty happy with my sculpture. Set it there. Now it is time for my actual warm water and to make the super saturated solution. All right, let's prepare. This cup is about 1 actual cup worth of water. So we'll fill it not quite to the top because you don't want to spill accidentally. And I'm going to pour this in a bit at a time. And we're going to stir to dissolve it. It's okay if the water isn't like super clear. It's going to be cloudy. We just want to try and dissolve the crystals at the bottom. All right, so I managed to dissolve all 3 tablespoons of my borax into my cup of water. And I think pretty much all of it is dissolved, which I wasn't sure was going to happen because 3 tablespoons is kind of a lot. But it did work. I guess my water was warm enough. So now I'm going to put in my sculpture. All right, so here we are. Our sculpture is set. So now we basically have to wait. And it is best if we leave it for like at least 24 hours in a place that you're not going to bump into it, right? Because we want all of the crystals to form around our sculpture. And to do that best, it does need not to be jostled because that will either knock the crystals off or cause the crystals to form like in the water against each other kind of thing. And that might be cool, but it's not what we're going for. Another thing that I have heard but have not actually had the time to experiment with is that if your water cools down slowly, apparently that can cause larger crystals to form. I haven't done it myself, so I don't have anything to compare with, but I have heard that if it cools quickly, like if it's warm and then you put it outside during the winter, it'll cool down really fast and then you'll have small crystals. But if you put it in a place that like is maybe a little bit warm, and then so it will slowly cool down, the crystals will be bigger. At least that's what I've read. So I'm going to go ahead and put this aside. And I did make up one yesterday so that hopefully I'll be able to pull out the sculpture and we can see what it looks like. So I have my little tray to put my sculpture on. And here is the fireworks that I put in there yesterday. You can see we definitely have some crystal growth. I don't know if you can see. If you can see, we have some crystal growth on the cup and also down here at the bottom. So any crystals that didn't attach either to the sculpture or were on the sides and got knocked off, they all kind of fell down to the bottom. Like, you imagine you would see, right? If you had too much like salt or sugar or whatever dissolved in water. Okay. I'm gonna try and pull it out, I think. I hope they stuck together. That's what I was wanting. Might actually be better to dump out the water first. Let me get another bowl. So I'm gonna try dumping out the water. So now here it is. I'm going to sort of squeeze the bottom just a tiny bit because I think the sculpture is stuck to the crystals in the bottom. All right, and here we go. I don't know if you guys can tell how sparkly it is, but it is pretty sparkly, and they are all attached together in one kind of fireworks. So I think I want to hang it on a thread after it dries, because it is still wet. I did pull it right out of the water. So I'm going to leave it on my tray here until it dries, and then I will be able to hang it. Or if you did a different type of sculpture, you could put it on a shelf or anything like that. And I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. This one, the crystals are not super big, but they are visible and they do still shine in the light. So I'm feeling good about it. And I hope that you also enjoy your sculpture and making and crystal growing. All right, that is everything for this week's elementary experiments. I hope you enjoyed our celebration slime and our crystal fireworks sculptures, or whatever you chose to make. Remember that if you would like our craft kit for our crystal sculptures, anyone in grades 1 through 6, or who has a kid 1 through 6 grades, or who has a kid in grades 1 through 6 can come by the Children's Reference Desk to pick that up while supplies last. Our next elementary experiments is going to be on January 23rd, where we are going to be celebrating the Year of the Dragon. So we are just rolling through our New Year's. One was a little bit late, the other one's going to be a little bit early, but they're both very fun to celebrate. And we have some very interesting scientific principles to apply. So please register if you have a kiddo or you are one in grades 1 through 6 and would like to come to our Year of the Dragon elementary experiments. You can sign up through our event calendar. And that is about it for today. I will put up some books about sort of tangential topics that we covered today. If you're interested in actual fireworks, we definitely have a few things that you could read at the Manchester City Library. So definitely come by and check them out. Until then, bye.